Why don't we go ahead and roll in? Can everybody hear me okay? The few of you wonderful folks who are here today, we are rolling in, going free. If you, over the course of this short rolling in, going free, would like to ask me a question, make a comment, please reach out by tagging me as No White Guilt on any of these platforms. And I will then see your comment. It will turn orange. Although we might have so few that it's easy to see all of the comments on this late Wednesday rolling in. How do you all like? I had Maximilian von Fock make an adjustment to the magic window for tonight. I see JK160 and Robert, and of course the great Franklin. Wonderful to see you all. Looks like this music is oddly trying to play again. I don't know why that would be. Maybe it's just going to play in the background for us. Where is that coming from? Maybe there. That's how far Odyssey is behind. But now that we have that silenced. Yes, I had Maximilian von Fock adjust the, thank you, Franklin, for that. Adjust the magic window so that we could have the beautiful debut. Nancy, hello to you. Welcome. Of the Go Free audiobook, which is now available on Audible, Amazon, and over there at Apple. Montana Kid is here. Great to see you, brother. So very happy to have that available to everybody. I do not set the price. They set the price. They can decide when they want to vary it. It's $13, I think 8 cents right now, or at least it was yesterday or the day before. So who knows where they have it now. But so that is up to them. No reason to ask me about that. I can't adjust it, unfortunately. But I was very excited, very happy to have Maximilian do that for me. And you know what? Actually, we could have, let's have Maximilian do something else. Let's see. Let me see if I can reach out to our good buddy, if everybody can still hear me. Maximilian?
Yes, Jason?
Would you be so kind as to put a waterfall in the closet with a pedestal that has my website right on it?
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you.
President.
Okay, thank you.
Emperor.
Okay.
God King.
I got it enough already. Very cool. Check it out. We have a water feature. Thank you, Maximilian. Little snarky cur that he is. Very cool. Now we have our own water feature. So the whole office is done up just for you all tonight. So we can have a little conversation. Montana Kid said, call a plumber. If it were that bad, I would really be in trouble. It would really be something then. But we have a water feature with the website in there. It's looking glorious. Happy to see it there. So what do you all think? And I wanted to mention, and let me just make sure one more time, because I don't want to be incorrect. Okay. So today, as some of you will know, who are aware, artificers here, who are aware. Oh, and if you want to financially gift, please do so at Cash App, which is up and running and available with a cryptocurrency or cash. And I deeply appreciate all cash gifts. Entropy is up running as well. You can gift with cash there. You can also type a comment or question in the question widget over there. It won't disappear like it does rolling away elsewhere. Only you or I can delete it. You can gift with cryptocurrency over there on DLive. It's up and running. And wonderful to see, is the word can in there? Ivor, I can't make out the rest of it. But hello to you, and thank you for following me over there on DLive. You can gift there with their cryptocurrency. You can also gift with the cryptocurrency or cash over at Odyssey, which is up and running, even though it's behind. Perhaps if I refresh it now, it will be up to the right time and place. Let's hope that is the case. Didn't mean to make that rhyme, but it worked. So today, as you all may know, some of you may know, was the 200th show of Mark Collett, Patriotic Weekly Review. And perhaps you all recall that I was on that show for nearly 5 years as a co-host. And then we had the divorce that was caused by the fact that I did not want to demonize Jewish people on the basis of their birth. Rather, I only condemn people who are anti-white. And that means anti-white Jewish people and anti-white white people and anti-white Hispanic people, anybody who's anti-white, really, but no one on the basis of their birth. And so there was a severing of ties, a big divorce there, an abrupt divorce, demanded by those who want to bring negative attention to all Jewish people on the basis of their birth. And Mark at that time said that he would have me back. He said several times, despite the things that he did that were quite insulting to yours truly. He stuck with. He said that he would have me back on the 200th show, the special. And I want everyone to know I did not turn down an offer. I was not offered. There was no offer whatsoever. So I want that to be very clear to everyone, which I guess is not a surprise, given that regrettably, Mark did not apologize for the hot mic when he had some negative things to say about me while he was on with David Duke, and David posted the show with a part of that show that was supposed to be trimmed off at the end. So he didn't apologize for that. He didn't apologize or hasn't apologized for the thumbnail that was a deep and painful insult to me after nearly 5 years of being on the show with him and being very loyal, always showing up, even showing up when I had to be out of office, when I was out in the field, somewhere other than the office. And always making it there on time required a lot of fast driving and et cetera for me. Even when I did those shows, that when I was out of office, 2 times, as you know, it was in the parking lot of a hospital while my mother was having heart surgery. And in all of these cases, when I appeared on the show when I was out of office, it cost me around $140, $130 to do so, because I was never in a place where I could access somebody's Wi-Fi. So I had to just use cellular towers. And so the data over the course of those 2 hours to be on video, I think in maybe one instance I wasn't, because the link was too weak. But to be on video and to receive video was a lot of data. And so it ended up tacking on roughly about $140 more. So I knew that each time I had to go live with him. And it also, to reiterate, I was never paid, not 1 cent, for being on that show with Mark. So that was just another sacrifice I made for the friendship, for the cross-Atlantic unity between white sympathetic people in the U.S. and in the U.K. And then he ended up, it was a very deeply insulting thumbnail that he created of me with a big smile on my face and my hand under AIPAC, where it said like Jews in America forever, or a friendship, a bond forever and ever, as though that were my position. And I'm sure that was a big laugh. I know it was a big laugh for the people who would like to harm Jewish people on the basis of their birth. But it has remained up, and he has not apologized for that gross misrepresentation of my position, for just that deep insult and misrepresentation. I hope the laugh was worth it. He hasn't apologized for, unfortunately, for taking a question from the person who was sharing information that he believes is doxing information on me during that final episode. Work addresses, home address, all that sort of business. Actually took a question from him, and also allowed the doxing information to be written in the live chat, what kind of work they believe I do, and all of this sort of business. Didn't apologize, hasn't apologized for any of that either. So also hasn't thanked me for that picture. You know, I bought that picture, and I wrote on the picture of the two warbirds, and I wrote in the picture that it was good serving white well-being with him when our morals aligned, and no thank you for that. So it wasn't a surprise when I did not get an invite to consider one way or the other. But I just wanted to make it clear that I guess maybe so that a lot of his supporters will be very happy with him to know that he has not reached out. And at the same time, I want everybody else to know that I've gone the extra mile. I've done the extra bit, and this is how I've been treated. I don't know if that will be the end of it or not, but that is what it is. Tonight, what I really wanted to do, what just made me think I've really got to do this. Now, we're going to be watching at least some and reviewing some of this what is it called? Eco-fascism or fossil fascism, I think. We're going to be reviewing that. I've not really paid much attention to these new sort of narratives where anti-whites tie in the current objectives of anti-whites with the anti-white narrative, and that's what's happening there. So I want to make sure that you all are not surprised, and that I help you to understand the linkage between what anti-whites are doing today and how they tie those things into the overall anti-white narrative. So we'll watch it together for the first time, and or at least some of it tonight, and then maybe, well, it depends on how interesting you all find it to be. If you find it to be interesting, then I'll review the rest of it. If not, then we can just drop it off there. If it's enough, maybe it's enough, half of this thing, because I think it's like 20 minutes long or something like that. So we'll watch like half, and then we'll wrap it up. But the main thing that I wanted to cover tonight, from my heart at least, is Andrei Moissejev completed just days ago part 2 of the Prometheus Rising Symphony. And this is beyond amazing. I want everybody to just take a moment to appreciate the fact that we have, with Prometheus Rising, Take Back Your Destiny, a book that I use to didactically teach about our weaknesses, our strengths, how those are used against us, both of those, how we can make them work for us. This is at a much deeper level than even the Go Free method itself, that is complementary to Prometheus Rising, primary in our lived experience today, because we are under the psychological warfare of anti-whiteism. So we need the psychological defense, which the Go Free method has proven itself to be. And I'm very excited to get started on 3rd edition, which is really going to be, I think, the editions that come after it, or any iterations that come after it. I can't see another edition after it, but maybe, but iterations. So just a little bit of added material here and there. This is really going to be, I think, the 3rd edition is really going to be the text for my life, for my work, for for the at least the psychological defense, that pushback, protecting our people where they are and the power that they have, where they're better looking, where they have more connections, where they have more money, where they have they have more folks who want to listen to them, whatever it is. I can help in this way. We can help in this way, and we can help each other in this way. And that is a noble thing to do. Having said that, Prometheus Rising is going to be, I think, my most lasting work because of what it does for the biospirit of our people, how it refocuses us on what truly is that connecting thread, that beautiful thread that runs through the West, that runs through Westmen, irrespective of ethnicity, these invisible lines that we call countries and etc. It's the one thing that sort of brings us home again. And we'll be able to look at that forevermore and refer to it forevermore. And great people, wonderful people have, upon reading Prometheus Rising, Take Back Your Destiny, have felt that connection with their most innermost voice and spirit and identity of our people. And it has inspired truly great things in a way that other endeavors in the white sympathetic sphere just simply have not. And the cause of that is our biospirit. It's not Jason Kuna. I have served as a vessel to speak that voice into our degenerate and decrepit, dying, putrefacting age that we live in today. And because I have enabled myself to be as clear and untainted of a vessel for that voice, truly great people have been able to hear it clearly and then know that that's what's inside of them, even in an age that teaches our people that it's the most evil thing you can do, that it's the most dreadful thing that you can possibly do, the most awful person that you can possibly be, and an age that twists and distorts our minds so that we think that to resist this age, we have to behave this other way. We have to be this ugly villain. And it's so seductive. So to come away from that is something truly remarkable. And we have been talking about, and rightly so, the great work of Eminent Rain, Luke Mason, and his album, where he has been over the years now telling the story of Prometheus Rising in what he has coined Promethean rock. Truly an epic musician. We've talked about that a lot. And that album is coming out the end of April. And we are going to do everything in our power to make it as big as it deserves to be. Luke is, as I've said before, he would be on the stages today, shredding the guitar and singing for tens upon tens of thousands in a stadium if it weren't for anti-whiteism that had decided by the point that Luke came along in life that it wasn't going to have any more of this expression for Western kind to be able to even find threads of our own identity inside of it. It was going to push that aside as an art that made it out to the masses in any significant way. So he would have been one of those guys. He has moved forward with this album. You've heard 8 songs so far. There is another song to be released, and that's song 9. And I can tell you this, it is off the charts, Promethean level epic. And you are going to be very impressed by it, I can assure you. That's at the end of April. The great Fourneau, as you know, another immense talent, inspired by Prometheus Rising, because he heard the voice of the West coming through that story, that narrative, into his own heart, where he felt that resonance. And then he created an album of his own music, his own creation, magnificent music, where he retells the story, changes. So it's a concept album. It's a wonderful thing. He has his artistic ability. He has allowed that to influence and created magnificent art in that album. That's out there, and that's available as a consequence. Again, not of me, but of the spirit of the West that runs through all of us. You can just get rid of me. That's the spirit of the West that is making this happen. There have been others, wonderful people who have done different types of art, and they continue to be inspired. And as we bring Prometheus Rising to the fore again in the coming month, and then months later, as an audio book of Prometheus Rising, I will make is released, it'll really begin to take the form and effect that we have wanted and need it to take. And finally, the great composer of our age, Andrei Moissejev, decided, after feeling that spirit within him as he worked through Prometheus Rising, after hearing that voice, that these Luke Mason, Fornull, Andrei Moissejev, Brand Danger, so many of our champions have heard that voice to varying degrees inside of us. He decided that he was actually going to create an entire symphony to Prometheus Rising. And we have played part one. It's truly magical. He has some other pieces that have been inspired also by the spirit of the West via Prometheus Rising. Take Back Your Destiny, which you can find at nowhiteguiltcollectibles.com and, of course, Amazon. And soon in the future to be on Audible, Amazon, and Apple. And he recently, he's constantly at work at these things. The genius composer, lucubrating away through the night to create this magical work of art. And he really is the great composer of our age. He would have, if times were different, he's like Luke. He would be in front of tens, hundreds of thousands, his pieces. The way that these champions will be elevated to a point where they get what they deserve for their talent that they're bringing forth, for the good that they do, is only going to be done by all of our efforts. We individually will only get back what we end up putting into this, putting an end to the victimization of our people, bringing forward that great spirit that is inside of all of us, that can truly take men of the West, women of the West, out of this dark time, this decaying corpse of Western civilization, to a rebirth. And so I would like to play for you number 2 of Andrei Moissejev. It is 11 minutes, and we're going to sit back and we're going to listen to this beautiful piece. It's like Star Wars, the grand music from Star Wars. It's like the grand music from Lord of the Rings. Truly epic stuff. Remember, this is the second part. It says here, what had once been void was become a realm of magic and mystery. This is when the Prometheus Rising, Take Back Your Destiny, I rewrite the character of Prometheus. So don't simply think, I know about Prometheus. There are similarities, but it's not this, it's a rewritten story. We are truly forever indebted to artists like Andrei Moissejev, Eminent Rain, Fornull, people who are tapping into talents that exist in us because the spirit of the West is in us. So let me put this up on the screen for you. And then as soon as this finishes, we are going to as soon as this finishes, we're going to get into this review, watch about 10 minutes or so of this 20-minute video about fossil fascism, which is another one of these efforts where the anti-whites are taking their goals of today to defeat and victimize Western kind and tying them into the anti-white narrative. This is very important to understand. But please, please, if you all will, let's get 007s, let's get diamonds, let's get swashbuckling flags, let's get the hand over the heart, let's get clapping emojis, let's get raucous emojis, let's whatever there is to celebrate Andrei Moissejev, what he truly deserves from his brothers and sisters. God bless you, Andrei. I am forever indebted for the hard work that you are doing to bring forth the telling of this tale of our people in symphony. Enjoy. Please, another round of raucous emojis, 007s, for the great Andrei Moissejev. Part 2 of the Prometheus Rising Symphony, telling the story of Prometheus Rising. Take back your destiny. God bless, Andrei. Thank you so much. He and Luke Mason and Fornull, if there is any justice left in this world, and the others who are contributing to this great work, to going free, the strategy, the method, if there is any justice in this world, the stories and the acclaim that will be told of these heroes will be with our people at the pinnacle forever and ever. The first time I listened to this piece just the other day, and a big thank you to Slots as well for reaching out to me. Andrei had reached out, and I hadn't seen it yet. It was the next day, and Slots had messaged me, and told me, hey, this is up, it's out there. And so I immediately went over to download and watch Andrei's part 2, and it absolutely whetted my eyes. It was it's truly a beautiful piece, as you can tell. You can imagine now, you're seeing this as it comes together, this symphony, the different pieces. You can just feel the grandeur in this. It's truly magical. If there's any justice, it'll be our true heroes that the world comes to remember. Thank you all for celebrating. Wow, that's amazing. As I let me go ahead and bring up this so we can get into this review. Let's see. Is that it? Okay. Something far right is growing. Okay. Now, before we get into this, I just want to say this to you. Have you seen the advertisement on Gab for the audiobook of Go Free 2nd Edition Iteration 2? If so, please get a screenshot of it and share it with me. I'm unable to see it, and their widget, their tool for making advertisements was broken when I made it. And so I don't exactly know how it came out. When you view it, you may click on the link once. You don't gain me anything by clicking on the link repeatedly. You can just click on the link once. It just takes you to Amazon, Audible, to be able to purchase the audiobook. But I want to make sure that this ad is out there. It's doing pretty good, even with all of the slandering of this entire community. Yours truly, the refusal to condemn Jewish people on the basis of their birth. And that's really what it is. That's all it is. Because I've never had a problem condemning anyone for anti-whiteism. Of every race, of every religion, I condemn everyone of anti-whiteism who is anti-white. It's the condemnation of people on the basis of the way they are born over something that they have no control. That not only is immoral, but what, no matter how many times I explain, doesn't seem to resonate with people. And it might be an IQ thing, and I understand that when you focus on another people with hatred, with etc., you put yourself in their story. You give them the names of their taking, and you end up taking the names of their giving. This is a death sentence for Western kind. You are not failing to identify those victimizing us by identifying anti-whites. You focus, you center us, you condemn and name our victimizers, You give them a name, and you give ourselves a name. That's how this works. You don't give them the name of their taking or take the name of their giving. So it has been at great personal sacrifice that I have publicly gone at odds with those people who, as you have seen, they dox, they death threat, they harass, they malign. So still doing pretty good, even with all of that evil out there. Still doing pretty good. So if you see it though on Gab, please let me know, and I'd like to see how it turned out, and also that it is appearing for people. I mean, the data shows that that is the case, but one never knows unless you're actually hearing from folks who are able to see the ads. So I'll see what you all are saying right now. I think we have a couple financial gifts, and I'm going to start this 24-minute. We'll watch about half of it. Maybe I guess about 12 minutes or so, 11 minutes, 10 minutes of it, and review it. And we'll see what you all think. So over here on Entropy, I'm going to get it right this time. It's no ads. God bless you. No ads. Financially gifting $10 US. I really appreciate it. Says here, no ads writes, how do you learn about current events? It seems alternative media is also heavily controlled. Do you just trust any reporters out there? No, and that's a great question. Thank you for asking. Alternative media, and I talked about this a long time ago, before we started seeing it happen. So once again, another prediction that has come true, and that is that anti-whites in power would co-opt alternative media sources, and they're continually doing that, and centralizing them. That is the want of the human mind across all the races, because you centralize for simplicity. It's not some kind of a big scheme. It's something the human animal does naturally, certainly Western kind. They co-opt the alternative media. They make $1 off it. You know the people. During the fad of the alt-right, a bunch of these profiteers came in, just as I said they would, right on cue, with money and connections, and they made themselves a bunch of money, and then they left. And some of them have kind of wandered back in a little bit. The money was so easy for them to just take from right-wing people, take right out of their pockets. Now, right-wing is inside the anti-white narrative. We don't believe in or view the world through left-right paradigm. But you know what I'm saying when I use that term. And equally, they're taking over alternative media and reporting things that are beneficial or at least anodyne for anti-whites and the anti-white narrative. And in some cases, no ads. It's really important here. They're reporting false information because they want you to go out into the world and make a fool out of yourself. So whenever something seems a bit too far, and this is something you learn with time, make sure you check elsewhere. Make sure you find the story elsewhere, the news elsewhere, and then move forward with comment. Or you can say, if this is true, then you have this opinion. If that is true, then you have this opinion. The reason why you bother with this is because reputation is important to the brothers and sisters out there that we want to reach, and the good people of non-white races that we want to reach. If you're out there and repeating nonsense, and then you got to come back a week or 2 weeks, 2 months later and say, well, yeah, that wasn't true, but how can you blame me or whatever? You're burning your reputation. So you have to look a lot of different places, and there are a number of sources, quite a number of sources out there. But perhaps some of the folks in the live chat can share some of their favorite places to go and get alternative news or news you would not see elsewhere. But don't make the mistake of seeing a content creator sharing a piece of news and then conclude this must be the truth because this content creator shared that news, or that content creator shared that news. Because the news itself, doom documenting, or doom dissecting, where they're talking about where this stuff comes from, is only valuable in so much as we can share the concepts of the Go Free method that bring people out of the anti-white narrative into our story, where the anti-whites, since they want to and have to propagandize us, have then to follow us. And we've already proven that that's the case everywhere on multiple continents now. But the anti-whites will do exactly as I predicted they would. So thank you for that. That's a great question, No Ads. Wonderful. No Ads again over here on Entropy. Thank you so much. $5 financial gift. I appreciate that. Thank you. And writes, sorry that PWR didn't help you avoid. Didn't the slandering of Jewish people. How do content creators stay clean when other content creators are out to make them look bad? Another great question from No Ads. Wow. That's not an easy one, as you can see. I'm not going to spend, I want to get into this review. I could spend much more time on it, on the subject, and maybe we'll touch upon it again on Sunday. I see Melody Dawn is here, Conscious Bias, Artificer, the Great Sloths as well, Remote Control Account. E is here, John is here. Kaisorian, is that what it is? Great to see you. Joel is here. Please share the URL if you would like other people to receive this information that we're going to be sharing, the information that opens your mind, enables you to escape the anti-white narrative, make a difference in the world for yourself, your family, your friends, our greater community of Western kind in the countries we're in and around the world. Cool Papa J Magic is in the live chat. And hello to everybody who would rather lurk in the background as well. When you're a content creator in the white sympathetic sphere, you will inevitably come into contact with these very unhealthy viewpoints and very unhealthy individuals that want to drag you down the very unhealthy path and destructive path that they have trod. They know they can't, within the anti-white narrative, backtrack. And so it's literally a misery loves company. So they want to pull you down into the gutter, pull you down into the slime, where our brothers and sisters, well, the good people out there, will never have anything to do with you. So you'll end up in these circles full of cranks, full of misfits, full of people who can't achieve, full of people who have destroyed their lives, lost their families, and we have thousands of testimonials. Just in 7 years of streaming, 6 years of streaming, thousands of testimonials of people who have improved their lives by going free, and the opposite, who have ruined their lives by walking down this path of becoming a hater of another group. So how do you do it? Well, you have to have a very strong backbone, and you have to be able to take an infinite amount of slander. Friends and foes will both slander you in the process. So it's not an easy thing. And I'm not going to, outside of our growing community, I would not suggest it. But within our community, then you're going to have support. And so thank you for that. It's a great question. I could spend a lot longer on it, but I hope I gave you enough to kind of give you the overall synopsis. You can ask again, maybe on Sunday, and we can review, or subsequent Sunday. It is important that we know and understand this. But I'll tell you something, folks. We have there's a change. There's a big change coming for us, because we are now disassociated from those people, so many of whom we saved, so many of whom we redeemed, I guess I should say. I guess Christianity saves souls. We redeem Westman here. And we have redeemed so many people. At the same time, there are just so many that can't be redeemed. But there was a big divorce, there's a big severing, but the instantiation of and the results, the positive results of that divorce are accruing to us increasingly. I mean, we have, big personalities that have reached out, big personalities that are increasingly able to speak with us, associate with us, take on board what we're talking about, because we're not sullied by the people we were trying to redeem to something positive. And I hope at some point in the future, I and your efforts to do that will be recognized by a growing pool of our brothers and sisters, and I believe it will be, and it will be honored for those efforts. We have Mike that just financially gifted $5 over here on Entropy. God bless you, Mike. And he says with those $5 for white well-being. Absolutely. I appreciate that. Quick look over here, over at D Live. Looks we got some applause over there from William. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, brother. And who else is here over there? Let's hope you're having a good one. NWG, Mean Man, thank you so much. We got people sharing stickers over there. I'm not sure what that one is. Looks like Tuscan Slam, I think is what it reads. Little sticker of dogs. I think dogs eating out of a popcorn. Dogs eating popcorn out of a popcorn bag. And let's see. So thank you so much, Billy. And over here on Odyssey, hello to everybody over there. I'll swivel around here. We'll have a look at Cash App and we'll get started. How's that sound? Joel is here. Free-based Boomer, hello and welcome. All right, we didn't miss anybody on Cash App. Puzzle Observer, great to see you. Can you believe Andrei Moissejev's music? My God. Let's go ahead and get started on this. We'll see. What are the anti-whites saying about fossil fascism? Have you heard anything about fossil fascism? Let's do this, though, so that I dominate the screen. And you can see right there, if you're in late, that was done by Maximilian von Fock on the magic window. Let's go ahead and get started. Tell me how the sound is, okay?
The embers of the far right are rising. As we march into the 21st century, the world continues to heat up, and each year we fail to act on climate, catastrophes stack up, adding fuel to the growing flames of the far right. Today,
okay. So immediately at the beginning, we hear what they're doing here. They're taking their objectives today. These are specific anti-whites. Not all anti-whites care about anthropogenic or the claims of anthropogenic global warming. And of course, on this channel, I agree with everything that the US government says about global warming, everything that the UN says about global, whatever it is, the ear is against the door. So, but this is nonetheless a big part of anti-whiteism today. And a lot of times people will say to me, Jason, how do you know? Sloth says audio is fine. Thank you. Klomp is here. Great to see you. Clutch is here. Hello to you. A lot of the times people will say to me, especially those who are white sympathetic implicit folks, which is this growing community that are coming to know who we are and who are okay with us. They're discovering, well, these guys are different. They'll say, well, Jason, I mean, you say everything is anti-white, Jason. So the global warming thing that's anti-white too. It's anti-white. Where do you see the endeavors to convince the public that they are guilty of destroying the planet? Where else do you see this on planet Earth? On any large scale, that they are destroying the planet, and then provide you with a list of remedies that all white erase our projection into the world. The type of governments we create, the type of culture we create, this type of civilization we create, that's all our projection onto the world. The remedies to global warming, the claims of anthropogenic global warming, mankind is doing it, all white erase that. So these are a collection of excuses to get to that conclusion. Furthermore, as I point out regularly, and you need to point it out as well when you talk to people, the argument for remedies for the problem of anthropogenic global warming are always successful and only successful, or maybe I shouldn't say only successful, almost entirely successful when they are said to be, in one shape or form, retributive justice against Western kind. That is a moral argument. They come to you with what they claim to be scientific arguments that are disputable by other scientists, whether it's right or wrong. Check with CNN. Take away the anti-white moral argument, which is the morality we live under inside this anti-white narrative. Take that moral argument away, and the scientific arguments and etc. fall flat on their face. They can't go anywhere. This is why you see so often many of these arguments for the case of anthropogenic global warming, and therefore the steps to address it, when they don't include retributive justice against Western kind, against Westmen, people alive today, and our projections into the world, they go nowhere. When they make it too much about like, oh, it's a general thing that the whole world is doing, they just fall flat. When they say this is what the West is doing to the world, changes then. Then more people capitulate. You want to know if we're under an anti-white morality. And if you too have the anti-white morality, you do. If you were reared on planet Earth in the West, you're under the anti-white narrative. If you're white, you've been white guilted. And evidence is everywhere that you're under the anti-white morality. When you see, for example, brothers and sisters out there, Westmen out there, will make appeals to anti-white morality and then a slight disagreement, and they hope with that they're somehow going to get a little bit back from the anti-whites, a little reprieve from the victimization.
The sparks of anti-Semitism, white supremacy, and Islamophobia.
So there you see it right away.
In flames of the far right. Today, the sparks of anti-Semitism, white supremacy, and Islamophobia are catching on the dry kindling of disillusioned white rage. Kindling that continues to add strength to the far-right fires that are now engulfing climate action.
Okay, so you see right to the anti-white narrative. Perfectly, as I said, they're taking the current objective and they're weaving that in to the anti-white narrative so that they can appeal to your white guilt. They've just connected it to anti-Semitism, Islamophobia. All of these are anti-white and therefore, to be redundant, meme pathogens. People have already been infected with these things. They already know what they are. So this is a psychological warfare trick to take the current item pursued and connect it, conflate it with what they already know is working on you. And you saw another meme pathogen right there, white rage. That is meant to prevent you from being upset over our victimization. If you complain about our victimization, you are part of this white rage phenomenon. You're just wildly, insanely mad over nothing. You have to not be so mad. That's what they want you to do. Lower your defenses. Don't defend yourself. Do not fall for this. What is an MC response for white rage? Anger is a virtue when it protects the innocent. When they try to corner you with this white rage, anger is a virtue when it protects the innocent. Why wouldn't you protect the innocent? Why are you so anti-white that you want to victimize the white race? Why are you so anti-white that you define our desire to end our victimization as evil? You end up setting up a morality where it is moral and good and noble and heroic to victimize us by doing that.
The agenda of white nationalists has now turned its gaze towards the climate crisis, and their form of climate action is concerning. Right-wing extremism is spreading in multiple directions.
There's fossil fascism. So another meme pathogen, this white extremism. Know what you're hearing when they say it. Don't retort by saying that, well, jaywalkers are more extreme. Well, black people are more extreme. They want you to say that. Do you realize that? They want you to say that, and you're being chumped when you do. Don't fall for it. You have learned to be smarter here.
Towards fossil fascism, towards green nationalism, and towards eco-fascism. All are dangerous politics that threaten to engulf the world in a wildfire of fascist ideology that addresses the reality of a hotter planet with racial violence and fascist ideology.
Wow, listen to that. Look at what you're seeing here. This is all driving emotion, the emotion of fear here. Your planet is being consumed by fire, and the people responsible for it are white nationalists, white supremacists, racists, all of these anti-white slurs. And therefore, if you don't stand with these people against this, then you are those things, and you are responsible for the earth being cooked, like in this little video here. Listen to how they connect the current victimization of the white race with the tropes, the meme pathogens, the ideas, the anti-white slurs that they know you are already infected with. Remember, we talk about this in the Go Free practice, about how you have to be ready for new MPs, and you have to be ready to CCD those MPs when they appear.
That injure fossil fascism, towards green nationalism, and towards eco-fascism. All are dangerous politics that threaten to engulf the world in a wildfire of fascist ideology that addresses the reality of a hotter planet with racial violence and nationalism. Today,
okay. So any politics that would seek to put an end to the victimization of white people results in this. Any politics that seeks to end the victimization of white people is fascism, is white supremacy. And they are very alarmed by this, anti-whites, because they can see the white population of the West, along with good people of all races and backgrounds, are getting fed up with the destruction of the West. And they can see they want something different. In America specifically, they're pushing for the one candidate that is not going to be a part of, at least claims that he's not going to be part, and it's Donald Trump, that he's not going to be part of the uniparty system moving forward, as it's always been. The more radical anti-white Democrats always getting what they want, being able to lie all the time, never consequences for them. And then the anti-white lights, in the Republican Party capitulating and having very minor victories every now and again, that a year later or the year after that, they capitulate on those things as well.
We'll unpack why the far right's approach to climate change is so alarming, why you should care, and how we might snuff out these violent flames before they cause any more harm.
Okay, so what you just heard is something that doesn't exist. There is no far right response to climate change. This is wholly fictitious, in my opinion, and being perpetrated by these anti-white monsters. So they're saying, they are crafting, don't fall for this trick. You object to the victimization of our people. They want to say that what your speech, your desires, your objectives are actually a response, the right-wing response to a world that's getting hotter. The premise here, unspoken, is that, okay, it's anthropogenic global warming is absolutely true. And so if anybody speaks up about, maybe you object to anti-whiteism in schools, in one place and at one time called CRT, and another place another time called something else, well, that is just your response. That's your fossil fascism. Do not fall for this and in response say that you are a fossil fascist. I guarantee you, you are going to see people with IQs lower than yours, and there will be more of them, trust me, out there, that will take on these villain garments that the anti-whites give to them. Perhaps you've already seen them. I haven't followed this stuff, and I don't run in those circles. Perhaps you've already seen people out there saying that, well, this is the right response.
This video is made possible by Nebula. Watch an exclusive companion video to this one all about the former president of Brazil's proto-fossil fascist regime, only on Nebula.
Proto-fossil fascist regime. Oh my God. So they're trying to conflate anybody that gets in the way of anti-whiteism, even unintentionally. And that's a lot of folks out there get in the way of anti-whiteism unintentionally. That they're going to equate them with the purest of evil, and they'll throw everybody into the same camp. You see how they write the anti-white narrative? This is why you don't stay in it. You're seeing here another page in the anti-white narrative. You cannot stay in that narrative and succeed.
You can watch that video, my next video on eco-sabotage, a month early, alongside more than 20 other Nebula exclusive R-Changing Climate videos when you sign up for Nebula using the link below. If you want to learn more, make sure to stick around until the end.
What is fascism?
On March 20th.
Thank God they're actually, I was going to say, who the hell knows what fascism is? They're going to tell us. I have been, you all know, decades in white sympathetic sphere, implicit and explicit, and I have yet to find two people that can give the exact same definition of what fascism is, but they will, all over the place in the explicit white sympathetic sphere, claim to be fascists. Okay? You have no idea what it is, but our brothers and sisters know what it is. In their teeming millions out there, they know what it is. And what they know it to be is evil. What they know it to be is to be murderous, genocidal, harming people simply in millions of them on the basis of their birth. That's what they know it to be. And then you're going to take on that. Might as well take on pedophile as well. That's how smart that thinking is. The same people who said over all the years, well, I don't know if I like this anti-white thing. When they say I'm a racist, I just say I am. Okay, well, just say you're a pedophile then too, because they'll call you that. That's the same thinking.
3rd, 1919.
Okay. Anti-whiteism is almost entirely buttressed with black and white footage. This is so pathetic. I argued this in high school. They were showing us, I can't even remember what it was. Maybe it'll come back to me. More black and white footage about how evil the white race is.
Mussolini strode confidently into a gathering of like-minded war veterans in the Piazza San Sepolcro and laid out his plans for Italy's future. He wanted a war against socialism. He wanted to revive Italy's former glory. He wanted a strong Italian fatherland, and he wanted a racially pure nation. And that...
Okay. So this was a political, of course, Mussolini. It's worth speaking to for just a moment. What happens in politics today across the West? Politicians make arguments to appeal to voters to get votes. It was no different then. Therefore, fascism or National Socialism was a political campaign for the moment, was a political campaign for that cycle. Yet again, another reason why it's nebulous and why it is not a permanent, this idea that some explicit white sympathetics have, that it's this permanent, lifelong, life rejuvenating. Could you imagine somebody saying that about any other political endeavor at any other period in history? How asinine that would be? To look to the past and say that they figured out the best economy and the best ordering of government that could be concluded is preposterous. The biggest problem, as I've pointed out, with all of this economy and forms of government is that none of them have been cyclical. And the human animal, we've demonstrated since time immemorial that we are a cyclical animal. So we're going to need cyclical economy and cyclical government. Our geniuses will be able to figure these things out when we recapture our destiny. We'll get a little bit closer to better economics, fairer economics, better governance, fairer governance. This is not something that you take from a cemetery, which is where this shit comes from. And that's not to say that there aren't going to be any good ideas or views in there that will be carried forward. But this stuff is in a cemetery. It's to take that and then to revere it as this eternal truth handed down by divinity. And to go to a public who has been taught that this is the purest of evil. Now, why do I bother to tell people this position, which is obviously runs at odds with what we see in so much of the explicit white sympathetic sphere? It just gets me a lot of hatred. It gets people making lies about me. Why would I do that? I'm never going to meet you. It's because I want to reclaim our destiny. It's because I've figured out how erroneous and wrong-headed so much of this is. It's because I can look at the data around me. It's because I actually love Western kind, which means that I love you. I need you and your life to be better. I need you to be better than you were yesterday and the day before that and the day before that, and to just keep growing. I need that because I know that if you selfishly profit from what we've created here in the Go Free method and what the third edition is really going to be something special. Well, it's topics we talk about all the time here. That if you selfishly profit from it, you'll take it on board. And by taking it on board, others will see it. They, wanting to selfishly profit as well, will take it on board. And thereby it's a curative contagion and can be spread. If it can't spread on its own, you need to control the media. You need to control the heights of government. You need to control universities and institutions so that you can hammer at people the way that anti-whites did with anti-whiteism. Guess what? You're never going to control those things by just saying you would like to have it, by having a wonderful wish list. There are little diminutive content creators out there who love to stand up and give out great wish and need lists and then say naughty words that offend the general populace, that garner tons of attention. Well, saying, oh my gosh, saying that we need this and we want this is useless. It's useless. It's not enough to say that we need to have the leadership of our countries be composed of X, Y, or Z. Oh, so that doesn't do anything. If we have to be the only adults in the room, if I alone had to stand as the only adult in the room, then I would. But thank God I don't have to do that, because I have the Brant Dangers and the Franklins and the Fornulls and so many others out there. That's why. So you see here, exactly as I said, they're conflating the current victimization of white people with what they already know has been drilled into people's heads as the most evil entities, ideologies, etc. in history.
Day, as Mussolini and his followers coalesced that vision into a political party, fascism was born.
Ooh.
But ever since those Italian fascists coined the term, fascism has slipped into a fluid definition. Fascism, whether graffitied on walls.
Thank you. For someplace where I agree with whoever these people are. Thank you. Exactly. What does it mean? Nothing. It means anything and everything that an anti-white needs it to mean. In fact, it means anything and everything that a white sympathetic, explicit white sympathetic needs it to mean in that moment when they can't even articulate exactly what it is.
Are hurled at overreaching politicians seems to mean anything from an authoritarian leader to someone who just wants you to do something. But
you notice that they use white males there. More meme pathogens. White males, authoritarian politician, white guy. Authoritarian person telling you what to do, white guy.
What actually is fascism? And what do I mean when I use the term fascism?
This is going to be interesting. They're going to tell us what fascism is. I wonder if it's going to be self-serving.
This has been long debated in academic circles, but political theorist Roger Griffin...
Long debate. This is about as serious of an academic pursuit as a science fiction writer deciding, will the spaceship look like this or like that? Whatever you need it to look like to demonize the white race. NWG Paradigm says, always the white blonde guy. Yeah, I mean, if we were to create like a scale, it's like you start with the white guy, blonde, light features, fair skin. He either has a Southern accent, a German accent, or a British accent. That's like and he's got a German facial structure. And then you can work down, but it's always white.
Has collected all of those conversations into a two-word definition. Roger Griffin fascism. This has been long debated in academic circles, but political theorist Roger Griffin has collected all of those conversations into a two-word definition.
He's been present for all the conversations. Was it palingetic?
Fascism is palingenetic ultranationalism.
Ultranationalism. That's ultra. It's called jingoism. But now it's ultra nationalism because people are so uneducated now. They don't know the language anymore. Everything's getting so dumbed down, and I can't believe it across the West, but certainly in America, it's just getting dumber. And it's like one word can mean 500 different things now. It's kind of like when Westmen arrived in other countries for the first time, and they discovered, wow, they have like 1,000 words for the entire language. And one word can mean an infinite number of things almost. I'm not saying that ever happened for real, of course, the ear is against the door, but you know what I mean. And it's like the language just keeps getting dumber and dumber and dumber. You know, the English language, 1 million words. 1 million. Now you got people nowadays go through college and they have these tiny vocabularies.
Griffin argues that fascism is defined by the synthesis of evoking a myth of a nation's glorious past, also known as palingenesis.
We will make...
Oh, there you have it. Jeez. Oh my gosh. You notice something else that I'm not doing here. First, I'll point out they want to connect it to people like Donald Trump. Okay. I want to point out something else here. Do you see me talking here to impress you? Am I sharing just boatloads of historical knowledge, whether it's contemporary historical knowledge, the recent past, or the distant past? Like, did I then go into Benito Mussolini and what he really... I know far more about it than I should. The only reason I know as much as I do is because I had so many people back in the day when I was a young man saying, oh, you need to know all about that. And you need to know, you got to talk about that. And I did. I went out and I discovered that I could speak forever on these different subjects. And people who were listening would be very impressed. They were like, wow, this guy really knows a lot. Yes, young man's going to go far. He really knows a lot. And then because I was honest with myself and my objective was true, my objective was to benefit our people, to empower our people, not to aggrandize me intellectually or monetarily. At the end of each of these meetings and conferences that I was at, private conversations, people would laud me. I thought, well, I'm not actually doing anything. We didn't actually get any closer. I've impressed these people. I've impressed a bunch of people, but what did that actually do for us? So instead of talking here to impress you, which undoubtedly would make for a larger audience of people who don't actually want to do anything, I'm telling you how to interpret so that you can go into the world and dominate it yourself.
America great again.
And combining that with extreme national identity or ultranationalism.
J'ai toujours ressenti un attachement viscéral, passionnel à notre...
Visceral and passionate attachment to our country and its history. Okay, so what they're doing is they're saying it's a global problem. White people that care about their projection. That's what they're actually saying. I want you to grapple with that. They're saying that if you have a concern for our projection, our culture, our governments, etc., we created them. If you have a passion for that, if you want to prevent those things from being white erased, because by white erasing them, we lose the bolsters of the things we need to survive at all. If you support any of that, then you're evil. Could you imagine? That's what they're actually saying here. Could you go to any other group and say, if you love what your group has built, and if you say, I want more of what my group has built, then you are evil for that? And you need to be combated by society? Of course, they say the exact opposite to non-white people. They say, no, you should celebrate more. We should the white race should white race should get down and bow to you. We should have more of your holidays, more. And what are these things? More of your culture, more of your ways, more of your norms. All of that, all of those things are the projections of those people. So they're telling all of us that we need more of what non-white people project and less. In fact, it needs to be eradicated what white people project. And if you decide that you object to the white erasure, then you are a fossil fascist, which is both, it sounds like, evil because you are discriminatory against non-white people, but added to that then, and this seems like the really insidious thing, but maybe not insidious, it's just obviously evil, that you want to destroy the world. Consider that. Consider that for a moment. That's big. You don't just want to harm innocent, wrongly put upon non-white people, which is, of course, bad enough. You want to actually destroy planet Earth. That is sick. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you have thought that what you have seen out of anti-whites of all races and as extreme as it's been, out in the streets and in the halls of governance and the laws that they pass against us. If you thought that was extreme, you just wait until they take on board that if they don't do those things, if they don't do that and more, the world is going to be destroyed because of you. Then they really will be kicking your doors in.
Notre pays a son histoire. J'aime la France.
In order to stoke ideas among the masses that their nation is crumbling and it needs to be restored to its former glory. And the racialized
other is always blamed. So there, it is absolutely woven. I mean, it's just like totally intertwined, these threads from the anti-whites. You see, if you're using the Go Free method, it all makes simple and quick sense. Instead of me having, or instead of someone else having to go through all of this other unnecessary, circuitous historical discussions, contemporary historical and deep historical discussions, which, by the way, are all going to be flawed anyhow.
Other is always blamed for the crumbling state of the nation. But as Andreas Malm and the Zetkin Collective write in White Skin, Black Fuel, fascism...
White Skin, Black Fuel. It must be about... okay, so it must be about, fossil fuels. On the danger of fossil fascism. It's a bit of a tongue twister for me. I apologize. But it seems, I could be wrong. Maybe I'll just wait. Maybe they're actually trying to say that the desire to use fossil fuel is also evil white race. I wouldn't doubt that that's where they're going. Let's see.
Can also take the form of defensive ultranationalism, or the idea that the white nation has...
Another thing that you would see other content creators do outside of the work that we do is they'll take their terms. You want to bet big money that you'll hear other content creators out there use like defensive and et cetera, and use their concepts. I'm in a madhouse. I'm in an absolute madhouse. How do we not have 500,000 watching now and benefiting from this? Well, a big part of it is all of the slander of yours truly by these people.
Defended itself from racialized enemies on and off for thousands of years, and their white nationalism can also take the form of defensive ultranationalism, or the idea that the white nation has defended its...
And you know, I gotta come back. I just gotta say it. It's too funny. Ultranationalism. Just wait. Other content creators out there are going to be saying, "Yeah, I'm an ultranationalist." You just watch. Now, is it that concept in and of itself? Yes, but it's also a demonstration of a king puppet, of a goddamn puppet with a master just working the strings. I mean, it's so easy for these people to dominate the white race. And that's anti-whites of all races.
But as Andreas Malm and the Zetkin Collective write in White Skin, Black Fuel, fascism can also take the form of defensive ultranationalism, or the idea that...
Klomp is saying that Saltine Cracker guy has 14,000 views in an hour. I've seen him have more than that, actually. But that's just doom documenting that's doing no good whatsoever. It's just burning up people's time, burning up their money, making them think that they are doing something by being a cheerleader in the stands who knows how bad things are and then can cheer if something bad happens to the baddies out there that trips them up for a moment. The best teachable moment was when we showed you Saltine Cracker complaining about iHeartMedia's coverage of the school bus beating, and then we showed you how we actually changed their coverage of it. So that's the difference. That's a big difference. All right, so let's see what
the
they're
white
saying
fact
here.
of the nation. But as Andreas Malm and the Zetkin Collective write in White Skin, Black Fuel, fascism can also take the form of pound defensive ultranationalism, or the idea that the white nation has defended itself from racialized enemies on and off for thousands of years, and they are once again at the gates threatening the purity of that nation.
Okay, so that's another perfect example of a theme of the anti-white narrative that if you adopt it, it's to your detriment. You will, as your fathers and grandfathers and great-great-great-great-grandfathers have all failed, you will fail just like them. If you adopt this anti-white narrative that we have defended ourselves against other races and now we're going to defend ourselves against this, you're going to end up in the same place they did, the cemetery. So it's just the truth. You want to hate me for figuring it out or what? Then fine. It's just the truth. In Sweden, terror is now a reality. Swedes are attacked, maimed and killed on their own streets.
Svenskar attackeras, lemlästas och mördas på våra gator. Och detta samtidigt som
Meanwhile, tens of thousands are allowed to live in our country illegally. Yeah, this is why if this person's argument, I'm guessing it's a political campaign or something, had been talking about the victimization of white people. White people are being victimized all over the world. They're being victimized here in our country of Sweden. This is our country. This is our projection. It's what we do. And it's being white erased. They spoke from that position. These dirtbags that they wouldn't play your clip to the masses. And if they were dumb enough, which actually they are very often, dumb enough to play it, because remember, an anti-white honestly believes, like a radical anti-white, that stepping in front of the victimization of white people is to be the devil. But our brothers and sisters in their hundreds of millions around the world don't think that. So let the anti-whites make errors rather than us making errors.
ni låter ytterligare 10,000-tals människor uppehålla sig illegalt i vårt land.
Fascism is steeped in anti-black, anti-Semitic, and Islamophobic ideas.
Sloss is pointing out that they made the modern footage black and white to equate it with the antique footage beautifully. Perfect. God bless you, man. Exactly. Just fantastic. They took the modern footage, they made it black and white. It's just like Benito Mussolini. It's just like Adolf Hitler. That's what it is today. I'm surprised they didn't put Trump in black and white. Maybe they will. We'll see.
Ideology. At its core, it scapegoats racialized groups as a way to cope with the existential crisis the nation is facing.
Okay. Scapegoating non-white groups. That happens. That's why you have to be white positive. It's not about the warts of other groups. It never has been. Objectively, like the reality, a deity or aliens looking on. It's about us and how we view each other, how we view ourselves, and whether or not we see ourselves as a single people. Since we don't have the belief structures that would prevent our people from being victimized, then we can be victimized by our people, by other white people, by non-white people, etc. So it's not about their warts. It's like choosing to live in a den of vipers and then complaining that the vipers bite you. You've made the wrong choice. You're living in the wrong place. I didn't see who said anti-black. Or did this guy, the voiceover guy? The voiceover guy said it. Wow. The voiceover guy. Where did he say it? How long ago? Damn. That's us, folks. You're welcome. Let me go back. That's us. We did that. That's what I told all those codgers back in the day. What would be the proof, Jason, that your way is working? How are we supposed to know? Well, one of the ways is that the anti-whites will flip the script inside our story. We say anti-white, they'll say anti-black. Even say anti-Jew, where they're not Jewish people and they're not used to saying anti-Semitic. Let's see.
Uppehålla sig illegalt I vårt land.
Fascism is steeped in anti-black, anti-Semitic, and Islamophobic ideology.
I love it. I love it. That is glorious. Thank you for catching that, Slots. That is glorious. What a boon. What a boon. We have a victory in this anti-white video. We are going to be the only community who has a victory in this anti-white video. Oh my gosh. Oh, it feels so good to be on the winning team, the right team. Wow, great catch. Great catch. Holy, he did. He said anti-black.
At its core, it scapegoats racialized groups as a way to cope with the existential crisis the nation is facing.
Okay, the existential, he said crisis, not crises. So he's speaking about something, at least with that sentence, something specific. And since this has to deal with anthropogenic global warming, my guess is that he's referring to the world being burnt up while we're, just hanging out one day. Whole thing catches fire while we're hanging out one day. What did I do there? I don't, it's a, if that's the claim, then this is another a meme pathogen, that the white race is actually responsible for the world being burnt to a cinder, but then they blame non-white people for the earth being burnt to a cinder. I would think also maybe that argument might be, well, we have to see whether or not that's actually the argument being made. But if it is, then it would probably be constructed to combat the argument that if you bring people who have a tiny carbon footprint in the country they come from to the West, where they have a massive carbon footprint, this is why, therefore, then you're contributing to global warming. This is why you cannot stay inside of the anti-white narrative and recapture our destiny. Do you see yet again? They will merely overcome that objection with what? The anti-white morality, this moral imperative that we're forced to live under. You just want to blame them because you are a fascist, you are a Nazi. That's what white people always do, who aren't
This
anti-white.
is crucial to know. Two of the most famous fascists, Mussolini and Hitler, didn't just stride to power amidst prosperous times.
Why has my life been so ruined with endless images of World War II? It perfectly feeds the anti-white narrative. Stop looking back. You can't redeem these people. This historical revisionism has failed in your personal life infinitely. It has failed everywhere that people try to implement. It is the dumbest thing. Not only is it the dumbest thing for the salient point that you are going to talk to how many people and how much time do you get to have with them vis-a-vis the population and how much time the anti-whites get to have with them. I mean, it's just really the dumbest thing I can imagine. But not only that, they can take whatever little this or little that you might try to feed in. And if they felt it worthy, they can just weave it into their anti-white narrative and promulgate what they believe it to be to the world. It's so easy. No wonder we are in this bad state. No wonder it's this bad.
They captured power in a time of crisis. Classical fascism rose to power as a response to a deep crisis. A crisis so deep that the dominant class was willing to give support to a fascist regime in order to solve it. So fascism, in the words of Malm and the Zekin Collective, is a politics of palingenetic or palindefensive ultranationalism that emerges in a moment of deep crisis. And if the leading sections of the dominant class throw their weight behind it and hand it power, there ensues an exceptional regime of systematic violence against those identified as enemies of the nation. And
so that if you were to take that bit out and somehow cleanse it of all of the connotation to Western kind and etc., it is what happens when any nation, country, city, state, kingdom is faced with challenges to its very existence. If there are remedies, they will make an appeal to those remedies and then implement those remedies in an attempt to survive. That's a totally natural thing to do. In the West, you have Western kind, the founders of Western countries, founding stock of Western countries. It is their survival that is in question. It is our projection, the survival of our projections, that is in question. In my opinion, I could be wrong. So consult legitimate historians. They'll tell you everything you need to know about this. But in my opinion, because that's the case, they have demonized something that's totally natural for an organism or an organization of organisms, the desire to survive. They would not apply the same formula to, say, a kingdom in Africa. They would not say, well, this kingdom is going to fight for its survival, particularly maybe against white settlers that have shown up in Africa, and therefore it's evil for them to do this. They wouldn't do that. They're only doing it because it's white people that they anticipate and that they can see around them getting restless about it. So they're trying to demonize something that's totally natural.
As we begin to look at the far-right parties that have captured power across Europe and the Americas in the last 2 decades, it might be easy to write them off as small blips on the political map. They've only occupied a minority position in parliament or have been quickly ousted from power. Unfortunately, the history of the Nazi Party cautions.
This is so telling of the anti-white mindset. They just said white people are getting upset with white erasure, with the victimization of their children, of their elderly, of the white people in their prime. They're getting fed up with it. And even though anti-whites dominate news, entertainment, media, dominate political parties, spending, etc., even though white people are getting so fed up that you're starting to see this little bit of pushback against us. Therefore, ergo, Nazis. So you have the anti-white morality now. Any objection to the victimization of Western kind is the purest of immoral evil dressed in a Waffen-SS uniform. Don't make the mistake of jumping on the internet to find yourself such a uniform. That would be idiotic because you'd be playing right into their hands. They'd be chumping you. They want you to look like that. It's not just about demonizing a natural instinct, survival, wanting to preserve what you and your people project. It's also about caging the reaction to them. And if you don't understand that, you don't have to. You just have to understand that what I'm sharing here has success where everywhere else does not. You go to all of these other explicit white sympathetic groups, and this is what they're doing in private, and then they have optics. They go out in public and they do something else. And you have cases where there are groups that are trying to push back against forces inside there that want it to be this way. You have that going on as well. So don't be a part of the people being chumped.
Us against resting easy. Voter support for the Nazis only ever peaked at 37% in 1932. They never captured majority support. But once Hitler and...
I don't care. Don't care. I'm not looking in the rearview mirror. Don't care about these historic so-called, who knows? Who knows what's right? Who knows what's wrong? Don't care. Care about now. Care about the victimization of real people today. I care about the white erasure today. This is the appeal to some story that they want to tell you so that they can victimize you today. I've got all these reasons back then, from back then. I can victimize you today. Where are your reasons now? Well, they're kind of invisible. They're everywhere and invisible. So that's another reason I have to victimize you. That's the anti-white.
Mussolini did solidify their power. Their regimes revealed just how crucial fossil fuels can be for fascism and vice versa.
What? 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 Hold on.
Revealed just how crucial fossil fuels can be for fascism and vice versa.
Oh my, that is the most tenuous bullshit. No one at this time, they're taking this way that they want to victimize us today. They want to take away your fossil fuels, white people. And they're saying, well, fossil fuels are bad because the Nazis and the fascists celebrated fossil fuels. No, they didn't. Nobody was thinking that, well, the fossil fuels are going to set the whole world on fire, and therefore we worship the fossil fuels. What some ridiculous shit is this? This is what they'll be teaching white children. My God.
Their fascist regimes venerated the machines, fuel, and coal, protecting and boosting the regime. Crucial fossil fuels can be for fascism and vice versa. Their fascist regimes venerated the machine, fuel, and coal, protecting and boosting the industrial.
Oh my God. That is so retarded. They venerated coal and oil, and they venerated. Oh my God. That's like saying that we worship the internet today because it's there and it's useful to communicate, and fossil fuels powered the machines. I mean, this was just after the Industrial Revolution by, I don't know, like 30 years or so, by the end of the revolution, the Industrial Revolution. And so fossil fuels were useful to power all these new tools that we had, and we were developing Western kind around the world. Nobody worshipped them. They were a means to this wonderful production that we created across the West and then around the world. So Hitler worshipped coal. You worship coal too? Can you see these arguments? You want to have oil? I can see right now, like these anti-white females. They're going to be like, you want to use coal? You know, Hitler liked coal. They worshipped it. This is so childish. What's more silly than how childish it is that there will be people, explicit white sympathetic people, that will fall for this. Oh my God.
Industrial power of fossil fuels as a part of the nation's identity. Mussolini and Hitler,
part of the nation's identity,
venerated the machine, fuel, and coal, protecting and boosting the industrial power of fossil fuels as a part of the nation's identity.
Oh my God. The identity of the people. Fuel, coal, it's who you are. Oil, it's what you drink in the mornings.
Mussolini and Hitler built fleets of cars, some of the first extensive highway systems, and one of Mussolini's right-hand men even wrote love poems to fossil fuels and cars.
What does that say? Gasoline is divided. It is religious ecstasy inspired by 100 horsepower. This is like the proto muscle car guy This is like the proto muscle car guy. We like powerful engines. We like machinery. We like advancing our environment. We like what the machines that we imagined and created and then powered with a fuel source, various types of fuel sources that enabled us to dominate and control aspects of nature that heretofore, from all the way back, for as far as we could remember, dominated us. That's what we were doing. It was the marching forward and mastering that which mastered or sought to master us. It has nothing to do with a worship of fossil fuels. How perfectly retardus is that?
Mussolini's right-hand men even wrote love poems to fossil fuels and cars.
You could find, buddy, I assure you, you head on over to any NASCAR page and you will find more love poems and veneration to big engines and fire coming out of exhaust pipes. Hell yeah, we like that stuff. Fuel is not our part of our identity. Wow. So you like gasoline? Hitler liked gasoline. Now we know where you're coming from.
Auschwitz, the concentration camp where the Nazis slaughtered 1.1 million Jewish, Roma, and Polish people, as well as Soviet peers.
How many times we got to be hit over the head with this? You know what I have to say about it? I'll talk about it when you're ready to thank me and the white race for preventing these people, these different groups, from actually being genocided, which means there are no more left. So I'm waiting for the gratitude.
POWs had a subcamp that forced prisoners to labor in coal mines to fuel the Nazi war machine.
Of course. Of course. So you like coal? Well, then you like poor innocent people being forced to labor in coal mines for the Nazi war machine. God, to think that we have the way to overcome this anti-whiteism, and so few people are interested. With all the successes, so few people. You know what? I do really emotionally, spiritually, physically, in every conceivable way, intellectually, object to victimizing anyone on the basis of their birth, including Western kind. Now, will you join me on that? Will you say we got to put an end to the victimization of all people on the basis of their birth, even white people? I don't want anybody harmed on the basis of their birth. Always been my position. Time for you to get on board.
In short, the burning and extracting of fossil fuels power
right there on a Nazi helmet. Oil plus gas fueled classical fascism. If you like oil and gas, here's your helmet.
Hitler and Mussolini's ethnic violence. And as a result, the fossil industry...
Jesus. This is so... You see that car? It had gasoline in it.
These were protected and lauded as national treasures. Classical...
Don't you dare go out there and make the argument. Well, fuel also helped us to defeat the Nazis. Don't do it. Don't. Please don't. You're just falling for their trap.
Fascism's obsession.
Look at, they're getting ready for a cookout.
With fuel and machines is a warning flare for our present day and hints at the possible paths the modern far right might take in a warming world. The flame of fascism.
So they're going to use the modern white people who aren't anti-white enough, which is all they're really mad at. White people who are not anti-white enough. You got to be anti-white enough to want to just destroy everything that white people produce and white people in general. If you're not there, then you're one of the bad guys in the anti-white narrative. You're a white person who's not anti-white enough. And you might use fuel to slaughter innocent non-white people and cook the entire planet, not just the grill in the backyard. And so therefore you have to be stopped, and fuel has to be stopped. Does that make sense yet?
burnt bright in the mid 20th century as a result of fossil fuels. And as we turn towards the present and look off into the near future, those flames might once again ignite into a fascism born out of fossil fuels. A fossil.
I could see them. They're going to be making movies of like, it's going to be like piles of coal or oil. It's going to be like a pool of oil, and it's going to be like, of course, like totally destroying the environment. Like that's what white people who aren't anti-white want to do. This is destroy the environment, and then like Benito Mussolini himself is going to come marching up out of the oil. So that's what it is. If we allow there to be, think of the deduction here, fossil fuels accessible, well, then white people who aren't anti-white enough are going to use them to cook the whole world and target innocent non-white people whose lives are the only ones that matter to anti-whites. I happen to think that everyone's lives matter, non-white and white.
Fascism.
If you're a homeowner in
Another
Virginia
they get to
and you're
have
still
commercials.
paying for electricity,
They get to
then
have
you're
commercials.
missing
We
out
don't
on
get to
getting
have
paid.
commercials. Part 2 of this.
As the climate crisis sharpens, the fossil
I got to do the reading.
fascism.
The specter of fossil.
As the climate crisis sharpens, the fossil fuel industry.
Okay. Anyone notice anything about this boardroom? Is there any similarity there? Is there anything that looks the same? This is the fossil fuelsters, the fossil fuel Nazis. And look at them. They're laughing it up. They're rich. They're all these things. But that's not the theme that connects them. It's that they're white.
And the profits they accumulate
Okay.
increasingly become untenable. In order to stop,
Did they throw any non-whites in there? Sometimes they'll toss like a non-white or two into a predominantly white setting, and then they're like, "See, we weren't totally white. Those were the non-white people that are evil, just like you." The ones they'll call white supremacists, and then all of the white people who have bought into the anti-white narrative and morality, they say, "Well, golly, how can he be racist when he's black?" Because you're an idiot.
climate change,
This must
fossil
end.
fuel extraction must end. Fossil capitalists have realized this. So to continue with business
Fossil capitalists. How much do you want to bet you'll be hearing people on the right wing now using fossil capitalist?
as usual, to preserve their power, fossil capitalists might funnel more and more funds into the far right, a political wing that has
Oh.
shown their eagerness to protect and defend the infrastructure and profit.
Why wouldn't they just use they already control both parties in the US and all the major parties across the West. Why wouldn't they just use those parties to preserve? Oh, they're doing that. Okay. Who do you think is buying into the green energy? You think these guys, you think the wealthy people and that own the fossil fuel industry, you think they're just hanging out? You think they're like, well, we're not allowed. There's a rule. We can't buy any of that.
Of fossil capitalists, much like Hitler and Mussolini did 80 years ago. This would result in the elites of the
Oh, look, it's another white guy, blonde hair. That's your next fascist leader.
fossil class fueling the far right's rise to power in a time of deep crisis in order to protect their profits and infrastructure.
Now, be realistic. We'll do a few more minutes here, but be realistic. Those with wealth, those with massive wealth, like those behind oil and etc., they can buy who they want. Why would they buy the losers? Why would they buy the people who are going to make an argument inside the anti-white narrative that loses? They wouldn't. They fund both sides. They're just going to make sure that they end up with the candidates that they like. You have a case when it comes to Biden, who now making his allowances had to, in order to make a broader appeal, had to make promises and then carry them out. Unfortunately, unlike happens on the Republican side, Trump and others, that he was going to curtail the production. And what was that? Going back to the earlier argument I made, that was a political argument for the moment. It's ad hoc. That is the argument that Mussolini made. That is the argument that Hitler made. a political argument for the moment. The Democrats, how many times have they flip-flopped? You remember Kerry, the flip-flopper? All these. How many times have they flip-flopped? This is what political parties do. So would that be a permanent agenda for people who are, I don't know, consider themselves, well, there are various names that call themselves. I don't care what they call themselves, actually. But would it make sense for them to take that moment in time and say that is an agenda for all time? That is everything that Biden said there. That's what matters for all. Could you imagine? Biden made his speech. I want to try to relate to you how dumb it sounds to me. Biden made his speech, State of the Union. Could you imagine people 100 years from now taking Biden's State of the Union, which was full of half-truths, wholesale lies, some truths, and politically expedient decisions, and then saying, that's going to be the program for our political party for eternity, and going out into the world and saying, this is the program for the political party for eternity to correct every X, Y, or Z. That is how dumb it is to take these political ideologies from the past and bring them forward to today and say, this is the political program for all eternity. Jesus.
This is fossil fascism, a convergence of the fossil fuel capitalist class with the far right that venerates fuel as a national identity, protects it, and...
Let's also define far right. What is far right today? Is far right anything that you actually want? We want a complete cessation of the victimization of Western kind. We don't want a far right leader saying CRT is illegal, and then the anti-whites just change the name and they keep teaching anti-whiteism. We don't want these like half measures. We don't want this insipid garbage where they say, like today they're saying, but just for today, the far right is saying that they'd rather treat people who have gender dysmorphia, as they say. I'm telling you what they said. They want to treat people. They're injured. We don't. Today, that's where they are with that. In another 3, 4, 5 years, they'll be saying, well, it's okay at this age range. And you already heard Sean Hannity say that, like 6 months ago. Remember that, where Sean Hannity was like, well, at the high school's fine, but at the elementary schools, no, that's off limit. 5 years from now, he'll be saying that's fine too. You just can't have sex with the kids. 5 years from now, that's what he'll be saying. That's what the far right is now. That's what they're talking about. But to get you to not even consider, to get the general population to not even consider those mild breaking of radical anti-whiteism, they're going to tell you, because this is what anti-whites do, that's going to burn the whole world to pieces. Everyone will die. If you don't allow them to have sex with kids right now, the whole world is going to die.
Argues that the problems we are facing are actually rooted in the threat of the racialized other. While there currently aren't any fully fledged fossil fascist states, the fledgling forms of fossil fascism are already taking shape.
It's so funny to see into the future, isn't it? You get to see like fossil fascist state is going to be coming out of the mouths of so many people, because they're just going to pick it right up from the anti-whites. And then they'll say to me, oh, but you have concepts, Jason. You've got concepts, and that's kind of weird. What are we being taught now about concepts from the anti-whites? Okay. That's kind of a strange thing that you have concepts that you use.
The resurgence of the far right in the 21st century.
Oh, Trump administration rolled back more than 100 environmental rules. And this is another, they're calling that far right. There are, it's impossible to say exactly how many of the environmental regulations that do not benefit, in my opinion, the environment, but are aimed in the name of the environment to victimize Western kind, to victimize us either directly as white people or to victimize us indirectly by way of eroding our projections onto the world, that culture, those norms, that government, etc. So more than 100, there probably are thousands that not only that should be not only removed, but rewritten to actually benefit the environment. Because we don't want to benefit the environment as an excuse to victimize a group of people. We want to benefit the environment because that's what white people do. Now, as a people, now there are rabid, disgusting, anti-white, industrialist types and etc., capitalist types, and all they want, they're just rapacious. They just want more and more power and wealth to themselves. And they'll destroy white people, non-white people. They'll destroy the environment. We need to actually combat those people, including the non-white people that are rapacious, are willing to step on everybody, are willing to victimize non-white people, white people, and the environment. That's not what over the years, every time I come into contact with one of these, almost every time I come into contact with an environmental regulation or rule, it's just an excuse to accomplish white erasure or direct white victimization of Westman.
Points towards prefigurations of a fossil fascist threat. Right-wing politicians are testing out various political approaches to address the climate crisis.
Oh, look, this is the white politician. He's tapping on the mic.
And in doing so, are creeping toward a fully formed racist ultranational.
Look at this. I mean, even this is this is supposed to be the the evil, and it's every face, even in the blurry ones, are clearly white.
Nationalism. And all of the strains of proto-fossil fascism
Okay. We're going to see the world burn up again, maybe.
bubbling up, the specter of climate change always seems to be juxtaposed against threat number one for ethno-nationalists, the racialized outsider. In Poland, for example,
If you don't allow them in, the world's going to burn up, because anybody wanting to curb and keep Western civilization Western, anybody wanting to do that desires to set the world on fire, not only victimize these non-white people, but actually burn the world to a crisp.
Right-wing Law and Justice Party, or PIS, which has been in and out of power since 2005, has championed ideas of fossil fuel nationalism and carbon vitalism. PIS
Carbon vitalism? You've got to be...
has championed ideas of fossil fuel nationalism and carbon vitalism. PIS
I can just see it now. I could actually, I'm not going to do it. I could name content creators that are writing down these concepts right now to be able to be sure to use them in what they write and when they speak to you, so that they'll sound smart. God.
PIS members color Poland as a country founded on the extraction of coal, a nation whose glory is tied to the collapsing coal industry.
Treasure, we have the biggest coal reserves in Europe. As long as I am president of Poland, I won't let anybody kill the Polish mining industry. That obviously is speaking to that entire industry in Poland. All of those voters for this possible. There are no politicians today who are like in a deep connection to the people anymore. They're all just trying to get a vote to keep their ass at the trough. But that's still a good thing to stand up for this entire group of, which are going to be white people, which are going to be white workers making the country work. And he's standing up for them. He says, don't worry about it. I'm not going to let them prevent us from this industry and thereby stop the gears of Poland in Western civilization and send all of you all to the starvation house.
And also a nation whose purity is based on keeping the mythical Muslim invasion at bay.
We will not receive even one Muslim because this is what we promised. This is why Poland.
You see how they just made the argument? I think, well, maybe she's only at 8 minutes, but been over 2 hours. Maybe wrap it up here. Do you see how they just made the argument about whether or not there is this Muslim invasion? And do you see how you would be chumped by then defending or arguing for the existence of a Muslim invasion. Don't fall for that. I'm not sitting here going through history with you, talking about all of these different Muslim invasions and incursions and all the wars and etc. into Europe. Not talking about all of that because I'm not here to make you think I'm smart. I'm here to help you go free of anti-whiteism so that we can recapture our destiny. You can help yourself, your family, your friends. Let's take back our destiny. Don't fall for that. What do you talk about here? You talk about the victimization of our people in Poland. That's what we don't want. We don't want our projection, Western civilization in Poland that we love and we feel harmony with, we feel accord with, because it's what is inside of us that bounces back at us from what we create, what we project into our civilization. We don't want that changing. We don't need to even make appeals to violence or to different crime rates or any of that garbage. A people needs to feel harmony in its environment. Don't even have to make an appeal to, well, it's our historic lands. When you make even that appeal in and of itself is to make a claim and an appeal to some higher entity, as though there is some like real estate agent in the clouds that says this people gets that spot and this people get this spot. Your appeal about your ancestral homelands is an appeal to the very thing that you need to survive as a people. You need a homeland. This is our homeland. I don't have to tell you any other reason. I don't have to talk about that we've been here since X. I don't have to talk about that we did this and X in XY. I don't have to talk about how other peoples have their lands and they're better equipped there and they're being brought here by globalists or whatever, and that the goals of all that's horse shit that has failed you, that has failed us. The only thing that has to be argued, the only thing that should be argued that is insurmountable is that this is our goddamn home. We need it to survive. We need it to look like us. It is our rightful inheritance, and it is as much ours from our ancestors as it is ours to hand down to our progeny, goddammit. That's the only argument you have to make with these anti-whites. This is ours. We cannot feel, and you can talk about where in Western civilization you have allowed other groups of people to enter and they have enclaved and they achieve numerical courage and they begin projecting themselves onto their environment, and it no longer looks like us, and we feel very uncomfortable in those places because it no longer looks like us. And then we're constantly hit with the complaint that what we create doesn't look like them. And so therefore they're uncomfortable. And so we should feel white guilted for it, but we should celebrate that they've created environments that we feel discomfort in. And then not only is it uncomfortable for us, but it becomes very violent and deadly for us. We get murdered, we get raped, etc. You can make reference to what's already gone as a consequence, what is in place now as a result. But you need go no further than to say, this is ours. We need it for our survival. We need it for our well-being. We need it for our harmony with our environment. We need it because it is what our ancestors have passed down to us and what we have a right to pass down on to our children. There is no one else to appeal to. Any appeal beyond our own demand that we are here, we exist, and we're not giving up anymore. Any appeal beyond that is something that an anti-white can play with and manipulate in your head. Let the anti-white try to tell you that you don't deserve to survive, that you don't deserve to have a country and a community that looks like you. Let them make arguments about how irrevocably changing this or that part of your country is good for you. Let them go ahead and make that argument, because when you are in the position of standing up for your well-being and the well-being of our weakest members, you are morally superior. And who does that matter to? Why do we bother to be morally superior in these scenarios? Because our brothers and sisters in their hundreds of millions side with you then. Anti-whites bother to make arguments about moral superiority. They endeavor to give moral arguments inside their anti-white narrative because they know that our brothers and sisters will heed and capitulate to those arguments. Good God. All right. I'll see what y'all have to say. And if this was interesting or not, maybe we'll come back to it. It's fascinating. I've not seen any of these meme pathogens before. I wonder if Mr. V has seen them. I wonder if some of the others, Patrick of Southtown, wonder if they've seen these before. I've never seen these meme pathogens before. I've never seen them anti-whites try to say that Hitler and Mussolini, and therefore white supremacists and white nationalists, etc., any right-wing person or whatever that would call themselves that inside the anti-white narrative, that they all worship these fuels. And that if you defend them, then therefore you are Hitler, and therefore you want to murder and genocide non-white people, and on top of that, cook the planet. That is the first time I've ever seen that kind of shit. So we'll see. We'll see what y'all have to say. Let me know. We'll pull that down for now. Where were we? We're at 8 minutes. Oh, well. Maybe we could do another 8 minutes sometime. Okay, entropy. Didn't miss anybody there. And we have Spartan says Hitler is dead and Germany is a far left, I get meaning anti-white country. And then he says climate change Hitler, how Hitler started climate change. Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right. So didn't miss anybody's financial gifts on D Live, and it looks like didn't miss anybody over there on Odyssey. Very good. Let me swivel around to here. We'll check out Cash App, and then we'll see what y'all have to say there. All right, didn't miss anybody there. So let me see what y'all are saying in the live chat, and we will then wrap it up for tonight. I want y'all to keep a very close eye on me in the coming days because there are some interesting things coming up. We're growing. That's all I can say. That's all I'll say for now. Axum was here. Who else was here? David Lee. David Lee Wrong was here. Victorian Time Traveler. Great to see you. And just rolling through, looking for anybody who tagged me. Was this some crazy stuff? I mean, but you could imagine though, if they were showing that to white kids, which they will be, they'll bring it in and they won't call it CRT. And then that means even down there in Florida, they'll be playing it for the little white children. And the white kids will be coming out of there and they'll be saying, well, white people at like their most essential white sort of essence, according to the anti-white narrative manifested by Adolf Hitler and Mussolini, they actually drank oil and used coal as like suppositories. They worshipped it. And so we got to get rid of it. We just got to get the world functions on these things. What would happen? It would only happen in the West, by the way. Just as it's only happening, in my opinion, of course, only happen in the West. So the West would shut everything down and the rest of the world would grow on the fossil fuels. Wonder how that would turn out for Westman. I wonder how that would look for us. And then what are people going to do? It's going to be real lame. It's going to be real lame to go back to say to those white kids, no, let me tell you the revisionist history about coal and oil. And we're actually, I mean, come on. Danielle is here. Great to see you. Isaac, JC. Christopher Shipman. Always open. Great. Well, I hope I've shared some things with y'all that you'll be able to, and maybe you saw some of our other leaders in the white positive community shared some things in the live chat over the course of this roll-in, and you'll be able to take these things and then use them in your world. Use them for yourself. Use them to persuade family members, loved ones. Elaine Sabatino is with us. White Wolf is here. I think I saw Ezra go by. Hello to you. Mike says, no, white guilt. You may not be trying to impress me. Nonetheless, I'm impressed. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you for that. I mean, it's maddening over the years. I feel like I've seen so much in the white sympathetic sphere, explicit and implicit, that it is like this most vapid rerunning movie, and everybody just queues up, in these other plays, they just queue up for more of it. It keeps failing, they queue up for more of it, and there's more outrage, and they queue up for more of it, and then they queue up for more of it. It's unsettling and infuriating. But that's why we have the Go Free method, and that's why we continue to purify it and make it stronger with contributions from leaders all across the white positive sphere. We have Victorian Time Traveler says, my grandmother was a school teacher for many years. She would show her students videos like this all the time. In fact, every year, she would take her class to DC to the Holocaust Museum. Wow. Guilt the little white kiddies. Make the white kiddies hate themselves. That's a shame. First Last is with us. Great to see you, brother. World Conqueror says, Poland and Hungary would definitely be great countries to reach out to. They'd likely be more willing to hear our ideas. Brother, I mean, if you know somebody over there who has clout or power or wealth or whatever, I'll happily speak with anybody like that and try to share what I can with these people while there's still time. I mean, if a country like Poland or Hungary, at the highest levels, started speaking out against anti-whiteism, calling it that, using the dialectics that we use, using the lexicon, it would send shockwaves around the world. These people that make these kind of videos, they would shit their pants. They would absolutely shit their pants. Imagine trying to make this video by demonizing people who are saying they want to end their victimization. They would really be upset. All right. First Last. Thank you very much for the gas money. Because I'm one of those fossil people. I like those fossil fuels. Financially gifting $5 over here on Cash App. A true brother. Time Traveler saying she actually taught at mostly Navajo schools. Well, unfortunately, teaching the little Navajo kids to hate white people. Franklin says, best MC for the MP that white women benefit the most from affirmative action. You're looking for the best MC. I did have an MC for, let's see. I would probably go the direction of saying only an anti-white would want to deprive white women of white men who can earn a living and support a family. And that's what that policy, that law, that collection of laws, and remember, it's not the laws, it's the morality that interprets laws and codes and rules, the anti-white narrative, that is far more powerful. But that's the direction I would go. That white women are deprived of white men who can support a family, have a good career, lead a happy life, not be suicidal because all of their efforts and talents and time that they've put into education and training just down the toilet because of their race. That's a great question, though. I did have, where was this? Okay, we had Western Inoculator, was it? Who asked for an MC for the MP. When you are used to privilege, equality feels like oppression. And I wrote down an MC. The word privilege is an excuse to victimize whites. Why are you so anti-white? Remember, when you coin an MC or you take one that we offer you that you can work with as is, or you can manipulate a little bit for experimentation purposes or for a specific circumstance, you want these things to remain infinitely simple so that it's a quick turnaround. It's a quick riposte. You want to be able to punch it right back. It doesn't, the more complicated you can make it, you can make them really complicated. And in fact, I was still pulling out some of my very old MCs from the past, from might even been the first time I printed on Amazon. I was still pulling some of those out where I had made them like beautiful constructions of the mind, but and truthful and powerful in the final analysis, but weak compared to more pithy responses in the field, in actual conversation. And that's where we want to succeed. That's where we have to succeed. So make it a quick turnaround. This, when you are used to privilege, equality feels like oppression. You could go a lot of ways with that to make the person making the statement look bad, but you want a quick riposte. The word privilege is an excuse to victimize whites. Why are you so anti-white? Watch them flounder with that. All right. I'd love to stick around for a long time and chat. Yeah, it's a video. We watch 8 minutes of it because, of course, I do a lot of explanation, which I know some people, they're like, Jason, you're doing this long explanation. No, it's called education. If you want like somebody to just, do this like this saltine guy and just go, racist, then, I mean, this is not the place. This is not the place. Oh, no, he doesn't do it that way. He goes, racist. How many times can you listen to that? Wow. It takes a special sort. I mean, good for him to be, he might actually be like a smart guy and just plays like he is a retardus for the audience, for the money, etc. I have no idea. But more power to him to succeed and get while the getting's good. I mean, that's good for him, but that's not helping us. We do need doomed documenters. That is true, because otherwise we wouldn't really know much about what's going on. But relative to people who are fixing things, they shouldn't be so massive in comparison. That's an unhealthy, in fact, it's a deadly balance. It's a deadly one. Doomed documenters should be, because the remedy takes effort. And that means you're going to have fewer people that want to participate. You'll have more people that want to feel like they're participating and therefore just hold the pom-poms up and laugh when the victimizer stumbles. The doomed documenters then should really be highlighting people like me, Brand Danger, Slots, Fornull, etc. They should really be highlighting us so that we can make these appeals, influencing their greater audience with some things that are healthy, especially with the Go Free method. They'll take up the usage of some of it, if not much of it, and then be able to find the people, be able to glean that gold from the gravel, find the people who are like, hey, I'm tired of just watching how bad things are. I want to make a difference. Alex Simpsons is with us. Great to see you, brother. And he says, no one killed and fanatic villain playing clowns, Fuentes, etc., will watch a video like this and take up all the anti-white verbiage displayed and continue to praise the individual's ideologies discussed. I'm afraid so. I'm afraid that is the case. I wish it wasn't. I wish it were not the case, but I'm afraid it is the case that, yeah, they're going to, there are other ones. There are like philosopher content creators that they'll take up the verbiage that the anti-whites, academics on the in opposition to anti-whites to whatever degree will take up the verbiage and then praise. Some of them will praise the people, and they'll say, I mean, specifically to that guy, he'll probably say, yeah, we want, he'll just be chumped right by it and just say, yeah, we want gasoline running all over our houses, all over our flower beds. And then the brain dead, sexually confused audience members will say, yeah, he said something that will make people uncomfortable and disgusted. Yeah, and here's some more money for that. Do it again. I laugh every time you do it. And that won't do anything good for us. This is the people we have to work with, I'm afraid. But Slots, maybe people like Doom documenters because they want to make their own ideas of what's going on. Yeah. They see them as support for future fame when they offer a solution. Oh, yeah, you might be right. Yeah, so they're thinking one of these days I'll come up with something. What a joke. No, they're not coming up with squat. Just there's a big service to doom documenting, and these people are making money. I mean, the big ones are making money, good money, fabulous money, some of them, off of doing it. So they should realize though that this is late in the game. It's getting so bad. So much of the West has become unrecognizable. They really should be using some of their time to educate this is just like the moral thing to do. Now, educate their audiences with solutions. Now, why doesn't that happen in the white race? We don't have a people. That would happen in the non-white races. Some of them more than others, in my opinion. In my opinion, it would happen. Their leaders would think communally. And that's why they succeed. The white race is composed of individualists by genetics that, because of anti-whiteism, have been driven into rabid individualism, have been driven into this idea that we don't have all the ties of peoplehood have been torn asunder, and by way of anti-whiteism. So you have these radical individualists that are getting on their show day after day, and it's the things that they just don't like when they look out at the world. They just want to talk about those things, complain about it, make their money off of it, get their intellectual acclaim, etc., as a consequence of it, and then go on to the next day and repeat, rather than try to actually change anything. So It's a tough situation, but we're going to keep pushing and changing from where we are, changing the world, changing society, changing the language that's used to shift it to our story. And then some of these people, as a consequence, will end up using some of the concepts that created people out of our deracinated race, that will use some of the concepts that push back against anti-whiteism. And hopefully it'll be enough in time so that by that point, we'll be able to push more and do more. That'll be enough in time so that at that point, we'll be able to push more and do enough in time so that at that point, I love you all. Let's go free.